In 1915, the Ottoman Empire perpetrated the Armenian and Assyrian genocides. This was an intentional attempt at purifying Anatolia of its non-Turkish inhabitants. While the Ottoman Empire had a long history of peaceful coexistence between minorities, this changed in the 19th century. The rise of nationalism and the inability for the empire to modernize and create a joint Ottoman identity between groups led to sectarianism. In 1908, a Turkish nationalist group called the CUP carried out a coup against the Ottoman government. Another coup in 1913 saw the government be placed in the hands of Turkish ethnic nationalists. These men were set on creating a modern Turkish state within Anatolia. By 1915, the empire was crumbling amidst the Great War. In April that year, Interior Minister Talat Pasha ordered the destruction of the Christian population through telegrams to governors throughout Anatolia. Millions of Armenian and Assyrian Christians were rounded up and sent on death marches to concentration camps in Syria. In many areas, they were killed in organized massacres. The survivors of these massacres and the death marches were later massacred in their camps in 1916. Overall, around 1 million Armenians were killed between the years 1915 and 1917, and several 100,000 Assyrians. Only a small number of Armenians remain today in Anatolia. For the Young Turks, the CUP, the genocide was an important step in the creation of a modern Turkish nation. The crumbling Ottoman Empire eventually collapsed in 1918, and Anatolia was occupied by the Allied powers. In 1919, a war of independence broke out, led by Turkish CUP member Mustafa Ataturk. Against large odds, his forces won, and in 1923, the modern Turkish state was established. Ataturk was heavily influenced by French ideals of secularism and European style of economic development. He aimed, as he put it, to modernize Turkey to the level of contemporary civilization. He introduced Western capitalism and secular reforms, but governed strictly as an authoritarian. While Ataturk did not participate in the genocide, he was able to create a modern Turkish state because of it. In November 1918, the Ottoman Parliament met in Istanbul, one of its final meetings before the dissolution of the empire some months later. The country was technically under occupation by the Allies following the end of World War I. However, Istanbul was still under the control of the Ottoman government in 1918. Ataturk's independence movement had yet to materialize, meaning what was left of the government in Istanbul was all that represented the country. The parliamentary members had been elected before the outbreak of World War I and came from all parts of the empire. What they discussed during several meetings over the November-December period is quite interesting. For one, they debated who was responsible for the Ottomans entering the war to begin with, as well as the upcoming Paris Peace Conference. But they also discussed at length the Armenian Genocide. This may be surprising to many, as today the Turkish government officially denies it occurred, as do most Turkish citizens. But the 1918 Parliament were quite open about what had happened. They discussed the reasons for the killings, as well as who was responsible. The deputy for Aleppo, for example, was worried about the international impact of the genocide. Quote, "Soon every nation, be it victorious or defeated, will sit around the conference table. I say that we should not go to that table with empty hands. We should go there prepared to defend ourselves and protect our rights. Let us speak frankly. Gentlemen, you know that in the eyes of the world of civilization and of politics, Turkey is today in the dock. There has been a great murder that constitutes the most mournful, the bloodiest phase of Ottoman history." Some deputies downplayed what had happened, especially Young Turk members. They referenced Armenian opposition to the Ottoman government. But others, such as the deputy of Kozan, refuted such claims with the following. Quote, The government cannot execute me because of the crimes committed by my son. Neither can it behead me nor destroy me in any way. This is unacceptable. To say the Armenians caused all this to happen is by no means reasonable and cannot be accepted. We will punish those responsible and will return the damaged properties to the owners. One incredible aspect of these discussions are the references to Turkish individuals who actively opposed the genocide itself. The deputy of Aleppo celebrated such individuals with the following, quote, "I know of gentle, good-tempered, humanist, pious Turks who shed tears of blood along with me during the time of this tragedy, and they cursed the ones who undertook it. Was this done only by individuals? There are cities whose inhabitants are true Muslim Turks. To rescue the helpless Armenian subjects from this cruel deportation, the Muslim people in these cities collectively opposed government orders. But they could not in this way defeat the cruel order. They submitted when they saw that anyone who opposed the order or the acts of the government was hanged in front of his own door. There are such cities that, apart from protecting the Armenians, who were their fellow countrymen, also provided refuge to others. These are the true, honest, unspoiled, pious, helpful Muslim Turks." The story of Turks who opposed the extermination orders is sadly left out of modern discussions surrounding the genocide. What we can take away from these parliamentary records is that denial of the atrocity is a relatively recent phenomenon. The argument that the government only responded to an Armenian uprising against Ottoman rule does not hold up to historical scrutiny. The Armenian massacres were a direct attempt to end the Armenian presence in Anatolia, on direct orders from Talat Pasha. It is an irony that the Ottoman Parliament of 1918 found it easier to discuss this reality than its modern successor, the Republic of Turkey. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time.